There are moments in life when the impossible becomes undeniable, and heaven itself reaches down to touch our world. 3 days ago, we received an email from a father asking us to share what his 10-year-old son experienced. What you're about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about the days ahead and what's coming before Christmas 2025. This is Jacob's story, and it needs to be heard. Hi, my name is Jacob, and I'm 10 years old. What happened to me is hard to talk about alone, but Jesus told me I have to tell everyone. It happened on a Monday after school. I was running to kick a soccer ball when suddenly I felt dizzy. My chest hurt, and I couldn't breathe. My dad rushed me to the hospital, and then everything went dark. Dying wasn't scary. Instead of darkness, I saw the most beautiful light I've ever seen. It was warm, bright, and felt like love. I was floating above my body, watching the doctors work on me and my dad crying. Suddenly, I was standing in a place I can't describe, where everything was glowing, and the air sparkled with music that came from the light itself. I felt completely happy, safe, and loved. That's when I saw Jesus walking toward me through a golden mist. He was taller than anyone I've ever seen, and his eyes were so kind, yet so powerful. Seeing every mistake, but loving me anyway. His smile made me feel like the most important person in the universe, and his voice sounded like music made of starlight. Jacob, he said, I brought you here because you have an important job. What I'm going to show you needs to be told to everyone, especially the children, because their hearts are still pure enough to believe without doubting. The grown-ups have forgotten how to see with their hearts, but you can help them remember. He reached out his hand, and when I took it, everything changed. I could see the whole world spinning, and he showed me a calendar with 5 days shining brighter than the rest. December 20th through December 24th, 2025, just a few days before Christmas. These 5 days will change everything, Jesus told me. The world has been sleeping for a long time, Jacob. Even my church has been sleeping. But during these 5 days, I'm going to wake everyone up. Some will wake up and see the light and follow me. Others will wake up and close their eyes tight because they're afraid of the light. This is the great separation, when the wheat and the chaff will be divided forever. Then he showed me visions. On December 20th, people all over the world suddenly stopped. Millions felt an undeniable voice calling them in their hearts. Some fell to their knees, praying and repenting, feeling God's love for the first time. But others shook their heads, turned on their televisions louder, or worked harder, choosing to push the feeling away out of fear. On December 21st, I saw churches that looked like 2 different movies. In some, amazing things were happening. Pastors were crying and asking for forgiveness, and the sick were being healed. A lady stood up from her wheelchair, a blind man could see, and a little girl who couldn't talk started singing. The Holy Spirit was powerfully present, but in other churches, pastors warned people not to get emotional, claiming signs and miracles were fake or from the devil. They were worried about looking smart and keeping control. Jesus looked sad. These are my shepherds who have become wolves, he said. December 22nd was intense. Jesus showed me earthquakes happening in places where they aren't supposed to happen. But in the areas where people were gathered together, praying, nothing bad happened to them. It was like an invisible shield protecting them. The earthquake shook everything around them, yet those with spiritual eyes could see that God was protecting his people, leaving them completely safe. Reporters failed to understand, calling it coincidence or luck. Simultaneously, angels became visible, not to all, but to many, especially children, who pointed and exclaimed at the beauty of the celestial beings. Jesus explained that children, with their purer hearts, can access the spiritual realm more easily, having not yet learned doubt. News outlets were in an uproar trying to explain the supernatural occurrences, lights in the sky that weren't stars or planes, people receiving comforting voices, and hospitals reporting impossible medical healings. The whole world was forced to confront a truth nobody could deny. This sparked anger in some, especially religious leaders who had abandoned belief in miracles. They appeared on television, branding the events as fake, psychological, or demonic, arguing that true faith requires no signs or wonders. This movement caused denominations that had stood for centuries to split, half acknowledging God's move and half dismissing it as nonsense. Jesus affirmed this necessary separation. I'm calling my people out of religious buildings that have no life in them and into real relationship with me. He warned the process would be painful, but essential to purify his bride for what was to come. On December 23, the supernatural activity was overwhelming. Atheists, who had denied God their entire lives, fell to their knees after seeing visions of Jesus or feeling his undeniable presence. Gang members wept and discarded their weapons as God's love melted their hardened hearts. Politicians quit their power-driven jobs to seek God's true purpose for their lives. Jesus showed me this was the great harvest he had waited for, filled with joy, like a farmer gathering crops. The fields are ready, Jacob, he said. I've been preparing hearts for a long time, and now the time has come to bring them home. But I need helpers who will not be afraid to tell the truth, who won't water down my message or compromise what I say, just to make people comfortable. The most incredible sight came on December 24th, Christmas Eve, when a huge explosion of light came from Jerusalem and spread across the entire planet in seconds. Every single person felt its touch. For those with open hearts, it brought an unprecedented peace, a personal, life-changing connection to Jesus. They knew, without a doubt, that God was real and loved them. However, for those with hearts closed by years of selfishness, sin, and pride, the light brought fear and anger. They closed their hearts tighter, becoming more rebellious and determined to fight God. The separation was complete. One could tell by looking if a person had received the light or rejected it. This is the beginning of the end times harvest, Jesus declared. What happens during these 5 days will start events that lead to my return. Tell everyone to prepare their hearts because I'm coming back soon. After Christmas, the world was irrevocably changed. Those who accepted the awakening formed communities, sharing resources and living by God's rules. They experienced daily miracles, food multiplying, the sick healed through prayer, and impossible problems solved with divine wisdom. Their faces glowed with joy and peace. Conversely, those who rejected the awakening became desperate and angry. Crime surged in places that had said no to God, and mental hospitals filled with those trying to ignore the truth. They felt the world was dividing into two groups, with Jesus or against him, in the light or in darkness, with no middle ground. Governments attempted to pass laws against the supernatural events, labeling them dangerous extremism and religious fanaticism, and calling believers mentally unstable. Tech companies created programs to track people discussing spiritual experiences, and social media censored revival posts as misinformation. The world system tried to fight God's work, but failed. Jesus warned that things would get harder for believers. Some would lose jobs or face family division, or even persecution, arrest, or harm for their faith. Yet, he promised that everyone who stayed faithful would receive a crown of life and participate in the greatest move of God in history. The vision began to fade, and Jesus turned to look at me one last time. His eyes were full of love and fire. Jacob, he said, you're just a child, but you have a mighty purpose. Children's faith is powerful because it's pure and simple. Tell everyone what you saw. Tell them that these 5 days before Christmas will change everything. Tell them not to be afraid, but to get ready. Tell them that I love them more than they can imagine, and that I'm coming back for my bride. Those who have the light inside them will not be touched by the darkness. Those who prepare their hearts now will be ready for what's coming. He then placed his hand on my head like a blessing, and I suddenly returned to my body in the hospital room. The last thing I heard was the sound of thousands of angels singing praises to Jesus, confirming that everything he showed me was true. I woke up, fine, despite my heart stopping, and knew I had an urgent mission. From December 20th to December 24th, God is going to wake up the world, and everyone must choose light or darkness. The time to prepare is now, not with supplies, but by ensuring your heart is right with God. If you open your heart to Him now, you don't need to be afraid. The people who know Jesus personally will walk through these days with peace and joy. He is calling you, and this time might be your last clear chance to answer. December 20th through 24th will mark the beginning of the Great Awakening and the Great Separation. Miracles will be undeniable, and every heart will have to choose. Choose light, choose love, choose Jesus. Get ready, prepare your heart. The time is now, and those who answer the call will be part of something glorious. Jesus is coming back soon, and he wants to find you ready.